All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And as part of the Rankin Technical College Application and Website Development, or AWD 1111 Database Driven Web Development course, I'm creating a series of video presentations based on some of the PDF files from Flavio Copes in his The Valley of Code website. So far, I have done five on the server side here, which is these three. I have done 5 presentations on HTML, 10 on CSS, and 3, this is number 4, on JavaScript. I'll probably have a total of around 7 when I get done. Then I'm going to go and write a couple programs for you just to show you a couple ways of doing things. And after we do that, I'm going to go into the Node.js handbook and React handbook and talk about things from the server side. So client side, then later server side. All right, now it's going to seem like I'm jumping around in the book a little bit, and to be honest with you, it's because I'm jumping around in the book a little bit. But now next, I'm going to go through this section here. So even in the section here, it's going to seem like I'm jumping around a little bit. And what I mean is, before we go into strings, which is just a couple pages, let's quickly look at this thing on loops. All right. So it says I want to focus on 3 different loops: the while loop, the for loop, and the for of loop. Now I've shown you these in the past. When you've got a while loop, it's a pretest. All right. So in other words, you have to initialize your loop control variable, you have to test your loop control variable, and you have to change the value of your loop control variable. Since it's a pretest, if I had made this let's just say while I is, I don't know, if I just changed this sum for some reason to -1, it would be stupid, but if I did that, -1 is not, well, it is less than 0. So while 0 is 0 less than -1? No. So it would totally skip it. So again, the idea when you use a while loop is a while loop will work. You can do it for anything, be it a counting loop like a for or a non-counting loop. So if you've got an indeterminate number of records or something you want to go through, a while loop is a good one to have. Again, it is a pretest loop. You can always get out of a loop early by using a break. You can skip a current iteration of a loop using a continue. The for loop is a counting loop. So with the for loop in the same line of code, you initialize, you test, and you increment or decrement right in there. It's also a pre-loop, so if this again had been here, you were setting I to 0, so if you said while I less than, if you'd have put a -1 there, it would skip the loop body. The for of, as it says, it's relatively recent. It was back in ES5, I believe, or else ES6 in 2015. And as mentioned there, it's a simplified version of the for loop. Okay, there's nothing wrong at all with using any of these. Pretty much normally they can all be used interchangeably. All right, so let's jump back into the strings. And a string is a sequence of characters. Remember, in JavaScript, you can either put a string within single quotes or within double quotes. All right, and the author here says, I prefer single quotes all the time and use double quotes only in HTML to define attributes. Okay, I don't really agree with that. I tend to use double quotes all the time because in most other programming languages, including the ones we teach here, those being C# and Java, there your string variables have to be in double quotes. Single quotes would mean a char or a character, single character variable. All right. The empty string is single quote, or double quote. You can join 2 strings together using the plus. So plus is not only addition, it's also string concatenation. All right, you can use the plus to interpolate variables. Yeah, sure. Template literals is something we have talked about before. This shouldn't be anything new for you. The only thing I would say on this is, oh, okay, they have a variable called var, which is a constant named test. And here, notice you use the backticks, and you put this with the variable name. You append a $sign at the beginning of it. You put it inside of curly braces. Now that's all they said. That's all he said here, talking about strings. I want to say a little bit more before we go on. And so I'm going to jump back into this cheat sheet on the different string methods. This is written by Kevin Kamba, who is the same guy who wrote the cheat sheet on the array methods. So you notice there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 18 of them there. Some of these you probably won't use that often. Some of these you might use a lot. So what do we have here? Char@. You've seen me use char@ before in some of the things that we've done. So if you do the here, this is a good example. This outputs the capital H. I've used the char@ in JavaScript functions that I've written where you ask the user, do they want to run the program again, yes or no, but you tell them to put in a Y or an N. Well, if you're checking for just a Y and they put in yes, technically there's not a match. So what I typically do is I do a 2 uppercase on char@0 and check to see if that is equal to a Y. Okay, so there's char@. Charcode@, as it says, returns the Unicode of the character. Concat we talked about earlier. Just like with arrays, concat can be used to join together 2 or more strings. Again, the idea is when you do that, you put them into a new string because you are not supposed to change the existing string. Ends with, as it says, it determines whether a string ends with a specified character or list of characters. If it does, it returns true. If it does not, it returns false. Nothing really all that new there. From charcode, as it says, converts Unicode values into characters. All right, and again, as always, it depends on what you're using this stuff for. You may have a very good reason to use that. All right, the includes, some of these, again, very much dovetail with what you saw in the array. But here with the includes, all right, it says the include method determines whether a string contains the characters of a specified string. And now that I think about it, what I'm going to do, not this second, but just so you see this, is in this ES array thing that I wrote for you before, we went over, and it's got all the different stuff in it, enter this, enter that. I'm going to add one more thing into that. And that is I'm going to add a 9 that says it will allow us to search for a value. Okay? Why do that? Because that will allow us to go in here and use the includes method. Okay? Not mandatory, but kind of nice. Index of and last index of, again, will give you the position of the first occurrence of a value in a string or the last occurrence of a value in a string. The big thing is are you going from left to right, basically, or right to left to find what you're looking for. Locale compare compares 2 strings in the current locale. This is more important if you are checking for something and maybe you are going even across languages. Match searches a string for a match against a regular expression and returns the matches. So again, you can see here, the rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain. So we've got AIN, 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 and AIN. So we're telling it to match AIN globally. Now you'll notice it doesn't find the 1. It's got 1, 2, 3. And it doesn't match this one because we told it only their AIN. Had we put an I in there, IG, that would have meant ignore case, and it would have found 4 of them. Repeat allows you to repeat characters within a string. As you can see, replace allows you to do character replacement. Search will search for a specified value and return the position of the match. And I believe otherwise it returns -1. Slice extracts parts of a string. Split splits a string into an array of strings. Starts with, all right, does it start with something? There's different substring functions. All right, so if I want to return part of a string, to the to locale lower and uppercase to put stuff into lower and into uppercase. Trim we've used before. Now, I'm going to see if there's two ways I can possibly come in here and do a, I'm going to go back to the, well, we're going to go back to this one. I'm going to see if I can do this right in front of you right here. All right, so let me bring this one up again. And I'm going to change this to enter also a 9 to search for the presence, absence of a value. All right, doesn't sound bad. Maybe I'll use that. I don't know. So this will be enter that. So let me do this. So we will now say enter a 9 to search for the presence or absence of a value. Okay. All right. And now this has got to change to 9. So does this and this. And if it is a 9, which we don't have in there right now, so case 9, search for value. Okay, and break. All right, now I need to write this routine. Let's put it down near the bottom here. Function, search for value. And we're putting in our beginning and ending, it looks like, so let's just do it here. All right, so I want to come in and I want to go back into here. Come on. And into here. Well, I don't know where I put that, so let me check very quickly. I don't want to waste your time here. JavaScript cheat sheet, array methods. That's the one I want. join, push, reverse map, splice, shift. It's not showing me, but I'll find it. I'm going to try to use find. Okay. All right. So let me write a little pre-code here. Say let value equal, and I want an input box. And then I want to say the name of the array. So function. Okay, I think I know what I want to do here. All right. Let's put that in. Let value equals what am I looking for here? I'm spacing right now. Give me a minute. I'm just going to pause and I'll come right back. All right. Sorry, I had to stop for a minute. So I added a new search in here. All right. And I used one of the built-in functions. So now it goes from 1 to 9 instead of 1 to 8, which is what it did originally. So I added this. Enter a 9 to search for the presence or absence of a value. If you put in a 9, it's going to call search for value, which is down at the bottom of the program. And this is it here. So I prompt and ask you to enter a number to search for. All right. And that number, since it's going in a prompt statement, is a string. So value str is the number. This is the one I'm going to attempt to convert it to. If it's not a number, I could have given you an error message, but all I do is I call search for the value again. All right, so if you put in something non-numeric. If you get down to here, a number was inputted. So I convert it into an int. And then I let the result be numbers original. So this is searching the array to see if it includes that value that I just put in. So this will go through the entire array and return true if it goes through and it finds anything. If it makes it all the way through and it doesn't find it, it'll return false. So if it returns true, we say the value was in the array. Otherwise, we say the value is not in the array. And just very quickly to run this, just so you can see it. So when I run the program, you can see the numbers that are in there. I'm just going to quickly put these in ascending order, make it a little easier for me. So you'll notice, let's go by the end here. So 95, 87, and 95 are in here. So 87 should say it's there. 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94 shouldn't be there. 95 should be there. And 96 should be there. So let's just try all those. So I'm going to say 9. We'll start with 87, which should be there. And it says it was there. We run it again with 88. It shouldn't be there, and it's not. We run it again with 89. It shouldn't be there, and it's not. We run it again with 90. It shouldn't be there, and it's not. We run it again with 91. We run it again there with 91. It should not be there, and it's not. We run it again with 92, and it shouldn't be there, and it's not. We run it again with 93. It shouldn't be there, and it's not. We run it again with 94. It should not be there, and it's not. Finally, we run it again with 95, where it should be there, and it is. And lastly, we run it again with 96, and it should be there, and it is. So that all appears now to work. All right. So when I come back, I have now finished this. I'm going to jump onto page 35. And we are going to talk about objects for a couple minutes. See you soon.